My parents wanted to go on a cruise for the holidays. They invited me, 25 female, my boyfriend, 27, my brother, 28, and his girlfriend, 26. My brother, let's call him James, has always been the golden child. Some backstory. Back in high school, when James was discovered to be selling pills, he was just going through a phase. Meanwhile, when I got caught smoking, my parents threatened to kick me out. James lost his scholarship and dropped out of college at different times, but he's still perfect. I graduated a semester late and I didn't try hard enough. James still lives in the state where he was attending college, and I live in my home state near my parents. He doesn't work, he's not currently in school. My parents always buy him flights to come visit, but don't buy me a flight to see him or go anywhere else. My parents send him money for rent and life necessities. He bought a $2,000 dog recently with that money. When I got my first big job at age 22, my parents immediately kicked me off their insurance since I had the option of benefits. James was on their insurance until he turned 26. Last year I got laid off and moved back in with my parents to save money. When I got my new job, my parents told me I needed to pay $10,000 in back rent, which had never been discussed previously. I did finish paying it off and recently moved in with my boyfriend. This has been a pattern my whole life. James gets everything handed to him, and I have to work my behind off. So now to the cruise. My parents said they wanted to do this and bought tickets for themselves, James and his girlfriend. They told me to get my own ticket since I have a well-paying job. I was super upset and told them it wasn't fair that I was the only one who had to buy their own ticket. My boyfriend couldn't come due to holiday plans with his own family. My parents said I was acting spoiled and that green wasn't a good look on me. I'm so tired of hearing that phrase at this point. They said it's not like I had to get a nice room since we'd be outside it the majority of the time anyway, which is true, but then why get James a nice room? I decided I had enough and I wasn't going. But here's where I may be the idiot. I let them continue thinking I was for months. Then, on the night before they left, they said they had to get to their house by 8 a.m. so we could start the drive to the port. At 8:30 that day, they started messaging me asking where I am. I texted them, "Since you didn't want to put the effort into having me join you, I'll be spending time with my boyfriend's family instead. Have a nice trip with your favourite child." Then I muted the chat. I talked to some friends about this, and some said it was petty of me to cancel with no warning, and others said I should have sucked it up and gone since I would have had fun when I got there. They've been on the cruise for a couple of days now, and I'm starting to regret how I handled things. Yeah, I would have had fun, and it's not like I couldn't afford the ticket. I also could have handled the delivery better, but at the time I'm so sick of them treating me like this. So, am I the idiot for cancelling on our family vacation? Wait, did I read it correctly that they charged you $10,000 back rent which had never been discussed prior and you paid it? They also bought tickets for James and his girlfriend. Do they even like his girlfriend more than you? Not the idiot, but I would have gone low contact with them and definitely not even contemplated going on a trip with them. Save that for people that enjoy you, OP. Frankly, I go low contact. They keep you around because once they run out of money funding Golden Child, they'll be turning to OP chanting, "But family helps each other." I'm willing to bet that as her parents age, it will become her responsibility to ensure their needs are met if she doesn't stand up for herself now. James, the Golden Child, will suddenly be MIA. He won't go MIA, his hand will be firmly outstretched, palm up, in OP's direction as well. I wonder how much of OP's back rent went to James. Girl, I would never spend any time with them ever again. So sorry you've had to tolerate this type of treatment. Your parents are idiots, and they should be grateful you still talk to them, though I don't really understand why you do. I, 30 female, have been married to my husband Jake, 35, for 6 years. Before we had our son, Ethan, toddler male, Jake and I made a deal. We'd share parenting responsibilities equally. Jake even promised to reduce his work hours so I wouldn't have to sacrifice my career entirely. Fast forward to now and I feel like I'm doing everything. I work part-time from home, handle all the childcare, and still manage the household chores. Meanwhile, Jake works late and spends his evenings gaming or relaxing. Whenever I bring it up, he says, "I'm the one bringing in most of the money," as if that excuses his complete lack of involvement. Last week, after another exhausting day of juggling work, Ethan's tantrums and endless cleaning, I finally snapped. I told Jake, if I'd known you'd break your promises, I never would have had a child with you. He was stunned and called me ungrateful, accusing me of not appreciating all he does for us. Now things are tense between us. Jake says I crossed a line, but I feel like he needs to hear how much his behaviour is affecting me. Am I the idiot for saying what I said, or did I take it too far? Not the idiot, but you are a married single mother. Why does he think I make money means I do nothing around the house? If he didn't have you, he'd have to cook, clean, etc. And he's telling you that you crossed a line? Honey, you haven't taken it far enough. You are both adults and parents, and you both need to be involved in your child's life. Coming home and relaxing and gaming while you do all the work and never get a break? No, that's not how it works. You need to figure out what you want for your life and how you see your future, and you need to have a come-to-Jesus talk with him. Your son isn't going to learn that this is how men act. OP, you need to choose. Your husband is simply avoiding being a parent. Do you want to stay married? If you do, now is the time to look into childcare. Are there good preschools in your area? Your husband can pay for one since he makes so much money. You need to start an emergency fund immediately so you have a financial pad to fall back on if things go bad. You already know you can't trust your husband to step up, so maybe you should think about going back to work full-time. He's not keeping his agreement with you. So you have to decide how miserable you're willing to be or whether you want changes made. I, 31 male, am the oldest and have one younger brother, Adam, 25, who I'm not close with. We both look exactly like one of our parents. My mom and I are introverts who like to sit at home, enjoy a book and watch TV, while they are more like going out and being the life of the party type of people. When I was young, my grandfather had a watch collection, always showing me the new editions. His prized possession, however, was the first watch he ever bought. It wasn't valuable because of its price, it's only worth around $350 today, but because it was the first watch he could afford for his collection, he often told me that he would pass it down to his oldest son and that it would be mine one day. Even though my dad and I never had much in common, we always had an amicable relationship. He always made time for me, we played chess and watched movies, and he always was there for me when I needed him. And even though I know he enjoyed spending more time with my younger brother, I don't mind. For example, he tried to get me into collecting watches with him. Still, I was never really interested, so he did most of looking for them with my brother. They would go to different cities looking through antique shops for them. I spent a lot of time with my mom watching TV shows, cooking and building puzzles. I always believed that my grandfather's collection would be given to my younger brother. However, I assumed his watch would come to me, the oldest. To my surprise, on my younger brother's birthday, he received the watch instead. My father gave a heartfelt speech about how the watch had been passed down to him by his father and he was passing it on to his son. He noticed how angry I was and asked me what was wrong. I explained that I'd always expected the watch to be passed down to me as the oldest son, just as Grandpa had given it to him. He responded that he never realized I wanted the watch since I'd never shown any interest in it, and he also didn't know that his dad intended for it to go to me. He said he would have given it to me if he'd known, but now it was too late and he could do nothing about it. He even offered me the first watch he bought to start my own tradition, but I wasn't interested. But I don't believe him, I'm sure he knew. If my father had mentioned it to me more than 10 times, how would he not have mentioned it to him? At first, I tried not to make it a big deal, but no matter what I did, I couldn't forgive him for doing that. In our culture, the oldest son is expected to take on all these responsibilities, which he expected me to do. But then he just gave my birthright to someone else and thought I would just get over it. So last year I sent him a message telling him that I didn't want anything to do with him anymore and wished him the best. My mom has tried not to get involved, but she does periodically tell me how sad my dad is and how he's been drinking more the last year. Even my wife, who's expecting our first child, told me I was overreacting when I told her I didn't want him to be in contact with my child. To me, he betrayed me and revealed how little I meant to him. I had always done everything for him, and I was a good son my entire life. I fulfilled my duties as the oldest son, only to be overlooked. So let's see if I understand this correctly. You've never shown an interest in watches, while your younger brother has. You've never said you wanted that particular watch, you just assumed everyone would read your mind. Of course, your father gave the watch to the son who has an active interest in watches, and not the one that seemingly doesn't give a crap about watches for his entire life. He didn't do it to mess you over, he didn't do it to snub you. He thought he gave the watch to the son who actually wanted it. And be honest, you don't actually want the watch because it's sentimental or something that you would actually appreciate. You only want it because you expected it. But you would have taken that watch and never looked at it again because you're not interested in it. By your own account, your dad was a good father to you, and you disowning him over this proves you are petty, vindictive, and childish. You are not emotionally mature enough to be a father, but you are going to be soon, so you better grow up and pray you never make a mistake, or your kid is going to bin you too. You are the idiot. This is a lot deeper than just a watch. I'll go against the grain with everyone saying OP is the idiot because he didn't have the same enthusiasm for watches as his brother. Enthusiasm and sentimental value are two vastly different things. I'm not religious, but my grandmother was very religious and had a Bible she'd kept for about 60 plus years. My memories of her at family gatherings with her little Bible giving a blessing stayed with me, and when she passed I would have liked it because I associated it with her, not because I'm religious. Sometimes we need to step away from people to gather our thoughts and work through feelings. Hopefully OP can work through his feelings to talk to his dad and then see where he wants to take the relationship from there. OP, you're not the idiot. I totally understand your feelings. Your father should have spoken with you and your brother before he chose who would get the watch. I, 22 male, had a girl come over last night after she was at the bar with her friends. We'd only connected through Instagram the day before and I really couldn't tell what her name was from her username. We had a fun night talking about life and catching up on the horror movies from this year. At some point she said she was cold and asked for a sweater. I gladly gave her my favourite one, I have 3 total, and then we went to sleep. When we woke up she asked me to pay for her Uber, to which I said I could not, need to eat this week. She then said okay and ordered her own. As she was leaving she said, "I'm taking your sweater, you may or may not get it back." I responded, "I wish I could let you take it, but I only have a few sweaters and that's my favourite one." This was because I just met her and didn't even know her name, and there was a high probability we would never talk to each other again. We then awkwardly half-argued back and forth for a few minutes until she finally took it off. She said, "Bye," and walked out of my room and my apartment without looking at me again. Am I the idiot for not letting her take my sweater? Not the idiot. My guess is she was trying to do a cute thing where she steals your sweater so you have to follow up with a second date and so on until you're married and she can have all your sweaters. But yeah, you don't even know her name? Did you ask? And you have to buy food and wear warm clothes. Also, you can try to secure a next date in so many ways. Stealing a sweater or not paying for your Uber is not the way. LOL. Second date? LOL, when was the first one? He talks to her on Instagram and the next night she's staying over after being out at bars with her friends. Good grief. You don't even know her name? I sure hope you know what a condom is. Not the idiot, but my guy, my dude, don't meet up with or invite random people to your place if you're too scared to ask them their name. Gonna wake up with your stuff stolen and the cops rolling their eyes when you can't even tell them the person who stayed over's name. You're 22 years old. It's time to act like an adult. If you had intimacy with her, I hope to heck you wrapped it up because having intimacy with nameless random people isn't a good look at any age. If you didn't, get tested because if she gave you something, you'll know the disease's name. Thank you for covering this angle. They met on Instagram, he didn't even ask or remember her name and then had a sleepover with said no-name stranger. How do you talk about life and not even get each other's names? This is just creepy and weird. Kids these days boggle my brain. I, 35 female, have been married to my husband, 37, for 1 year, but we've been together for 3. He has 2 children, a young grammar schooler female and a pre-tween male from his previous relationship. We don't have any kids together. Their mom, Anne, 34, has 1 other child, kindergartner female. They have a good co-parenting relationship and Anne and I get along. Last week Anne picked up the kids, we have week on, week off. She told us that the kids might need to spend a few weeks with us because she and her current husband are getting a divorce. The house is in his name, he had it when they got together, and she's been a stay-at-home mom for their whole relationship. She said she was going to stay with her sister, but they didn't have enough room for all 3 kids. I jumped in before my husband could say anything, offered her the guest room, and told her the girls could share a room here just like they do at her house. That way she wouldn't have to miss her time with the kids and we could help her daughter while she gets a job and gets things figured out. She thanked us and said she'd let us know as soon as she could when she would be moving out. My husband asked me if I was 100% okay with it and that it would be fair to get her in here and then have an issue later. I told him I was okay and we worked through anything that came up. That was 3 months ago. She's been living with us for 2 months now and everything is great. It's actually better than great if I'm being honest. Having her here means I don't have to take both kids to the store if I need something for dinner. Housework is divided between 3 people. She's gotten a job and isn't having to pay for childcare, which is about $700 a week in our area. Even though I told her she didn't have to pay, she gave us $500 a month for bills. I was talking to my sister and cousin at our early Thanksgiving, and my sister said I was crazy for letting her stay with us, that I'm devaluing myself as a partner and being an idiot to myself for allowing this to continue. My cousin agrees with her. She said the only reason his ex would agree to stay was if she still wanted to have intimacy with him, and if he agreed, he wanted it too. I don't see them behaving any differently than before, and I truly trust my husband. But now I'm starting to doubt my decision. Am I the idiot to myself if I don't listen to them and let her stay? Not the idiot. Your family is reacting to something that may be taboo to them. Blended families are a common thing, but having the ex so involved isn't as common. However, it sounds like it's working out beautifully for all of you, and I'm sure the kids are benefiting as well. Don't listen to your sister or cousin. They are not in this situation. You are, and you are finding a good solution, and life is easier. To be honest, I think you're letting your family judge you on this. If things are going great, why change them? Just because two people who have no idea about the situation and are on the outside looking in are saying it's one thing versus the other? It sounds like jealousy if you ask me. Did they only say it after you gushed about how easy it was? Oh, I love how they've jumped to she wants to have intimacy with your husband instead of she wants to be with her kids. Ignore your family members. You, your husband, and your housemate are the only ones whose opinions matter here. Your husband didn't suggest it. In fact, he checked to make sure you were 100% on board with it. Your family members are jealous. Update. Thank you for all your comments. You're right, this isn't the first time I've let my older sister's comments get into my head. I texted her and told her that my household isn't her concern, and that if she doesn't trust the man in her life, she should focus on her own. Thanks for the reality check.